Alisa Cohn is executive coach who works with many Fortune 500 companies and joins us live from New York.
So to kick off, let's talk blind spots in leaders. So you've coached hundreds of leaders in different sectors and all sizes of organizations. So what sort of common blind spots do you see with leaders, and any tips in overcoming them?
Absolutely. There's actually two common blind spots in leaders. Number one is that you as a leader are the expert on your intention, and everybody around you is the expert on your impact. And mostly, you're not really sure what it's like to be with you. You're very sure what it's like to be you, and you're the only one, but you are not sure, you're the only one who's not sure what it's like to be with you. So you've got to get feedback from others so that you can marry your intention with your impact, which is one of the most important keys to leadership development. Number two is that when you're a leader, your voice is amplified, it's magnified. What that means is your suggestions are orders, your inklings are orders, your brainstorms are orders, your whispers are orders. Also, by the way, your orders are orders. So you have to realize that and be mindful and moderate in what you say.
To take the first point in terms of intentions and impact, is that a case of doing sort of regular 360s? Is it getting a coach to speak to your peers, your direct reports?
Well, listen, I'm a coach. So what am I going to say? Coaching is fantastic. Everybody should get a coach. Everybody should get a coach to do that 360 feedback. But there are other things that you can do. And actually in the Tim Ferriss show, I talked about the 3 words exercise. You can ask people all around you what 3 words come to mind when you think about me. And that gives you kind of a little snapshot on how you're coming across. In addition, be mindful of the response. I work with a CEO, and his point of view is, I want everyone to talk in meetings. I want everyone to have a free, the free form sharing of ideas. And yet, when he starts talking in a meeting, everybody else clams up and shuts down. So he's wondering, why is that happening? So it's really helpful to sort of look at what happens the moment before everybody shuts down. You want to see as much as you can from someone else's point of view what your impact is, so you can better align it. So what's a blind spot, right? You got to kind of see out of the corner of your eye, what's going on here, so I can get better at getting what I want from people around me.
Let's talk about meetings. You touched on it there. I guess it's so easy to have a bad meeting. And
so easy, normal.
Yeah, and meetings take up so much of our time in any given day, and we have meetings about having meetings and such. And we've been remote working, we've been in the office, we're sort of hybrid. What is the purpose of meetings, and how do we? I know that sounds very simple to ask that, very straightforward, but how do we go about making sure that we have efficient, effective meetings?
Yeah. So I love your first question. What is the purpose of, it's like such a Zen koan, right? Like, what is the purpose of meetings? The purpose of meetings is to gather people for the purpose of what they're trying to discuss, decide, digest, or sync up on together. The purpose of meetings is not just to have a meeting. I did just a few weeks ago, I worked with a CEO and his executive team, and they talked about the Tuesday afternoon meeting. And I said, well, what is the purpose of the Tuesday afternoon meeting? As in, why do you have a Tuesday afternoon meeting? And it turned out that they had the Tuesday afternoon meeting because it's Tuesday. And Tuesday is the day that we have the Tuesday afternoon meeting, right? So it's like, no, let's go step back. To your point, we call a meeting, or we have a regular meeting for a purpose. And you always want to think about, what is the goal of the meeting? To decide, to sync up, to exchange ideas on, to socialize, to examine, right? Whatever it is, or to walk through, right? Whatever it is, get clear for yourself what the actual goal of this meeting is, as in, it's a half an hour, it's an hour, it's a half day. What is going to be different at the end that was not present at the beginning? Once you get that for yourselves, then you create an agenda. What is the agenda? What are the tools and practices we're going to use to achieve that outcome? Then at the end of the meeting, my patented 3 questions to end the meeting. What did we decide here? Who will do what by when? And who else needs to know? When you have all of that in a container, the level, the excitement, the effectiveness of your meetings is going to rocket up.
Oh, fantastic advice. I love that. I'll definitely keep that in my back pocket going forward. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I mentioned earlier, you write for various different publishers, including Inc.com, and I picked up one of your articles about the three selves, which particularly resonated. It's a way of combating negative self-talk. Can you tell me a bit about the three selves?
Absolutely. So, first of all of us are subject to, at times, severe self-doubt, imposter syndrome, sort of inner critics that we all have. And so you have to kind of befriend your inner critic, and you have to realize that you need to find tools that will help you combat your inner critic. So I wrote the three selves article because you can think about the three selves that are there to help you get done what you want to get done by sort of overcoming your inner critic. So the first is self-awareness, recognizing that you are showering yourself with bad feeling, with bad juju, with bad intent. And just getting sort of in tune with that and getting a handle on that is kind of the first step. And then use loving self-compassion to forgive yourself, either for just having a self-critic, which all of us do, and also just forgiving yourself for, feeling bad or feeling de-energized. And then once you neutralize that, you can then start inserting proactively and intentionally and purposefully positive self-talk. So the self-talk that you then get from that is positive, it's nourishing, and it's designed to help you propel forward. And all of us need to befriend ourselves so that we can do our best work in the world.
Absolutely. And any tips for reprogramming your self-talk? Because I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think that first of all, it's like, accept that you're talking to yourself all the time, whether you realize it or not. So tune into your voices and recognize what brings you negative voices and what brings you positive voices. Do more things that bring you positive voices. That will naturally increase your positive self-talk. But also tune into what you're saying to yourself when you are having positive self-talk. And in a sort of a neutral moment, write that all down. So you have that with you to proactively insert into yourself when you are at times having sort of a down moment or negative self-talk. So when you have a list of things, you can proactively, sort of insert them.
Great. So your own sort of self-affirmation.
Right. Own self-affirmation.
Yeah, that's maybe a fourth self to stick in there.
That's right. We'll co-write that article as a follow-up.
Yeah. Can a leopard change its spots? So if someone who's fairly introverted, walked into your sort of coaching client relationship, can they change to become someone they're not naturally or not nurtured to be? I should say. Or is it more a case of, okay, they're introverted, let's offset them with an extrovert in the team and get that dynamic of different varieties? What's your view?
There's multiple things here. And I would just say this, I deal with behavior. So when a leader, when a founder is in a situation, the question is not, are you an introvert or an extrovert? The question is not sort of, can you really change? The question is, what is required now of the person in this role? And what is required now of the person in this role possibly is to communicate. So the person should communicate possibly enthusiastically and possibly just passionately, but one way or the other, person needs to communicate. So no matter what, you could always want to surround yourself with people who make up for your so-called weaknesses. Also, you want to really focus on the things which are your natural swing as much as you can and find your highest and best use. But there's a big but on that. I think that people are not practiced. So the good example, a basic example is people don't like public speaking. Well, that's fine. But I would ask the question, have you trained and learned to do public speaking? Have you practiced public speaking? Have you tried repeatedly to get yourself kind of used to public speaking? I know for myself that, 15 years ago, I hated public speaking. And now I love it because I got practiced. So don't turn yourself away because it's something out of your comfort zone or not your natural swing. That's what learning is about. Don't sort of sell yourself short and think I'll never be able to do that or I can't do that because you haven't learned to do it yet. Recognize, oh, there's something here for me to learn. There's a gap that I have the glory of being able to close and pursue. And I think it's really important to sort of think about new things in that way. over time. If it's not for you, okay, it's not for you. But don't sort of write yourself off before you give yourself a chance to learn something new.
It probably loops back to that post you made the other day about the more you give, the more you get, the more risk and sort of discomfort you put yourself into in many respects, the more the reward that comes back is.
Definitely true. Definitely true. You know, for all of us, our life is much better in a direct proportion to how much we are willing to take risks and expand our comfort zone of what's possible.
Oh, that's great. Listen, I'm keen to talk about this that I have in my hands.
You mean this?
I mean that. I love it. I mean, to be honest, I'll tell you, I'm conflicted. As a coach of startups, and high growth companies, I'm tempted just to take this and use it as advice to my clients rather than give a copy of it. I want to take credit, but no, I'll definitely buy a copy for a few of the CEOs that I coach. I guess, sorry, the other thing I should say, my son's not happy with me because I used up his highlighter pen the other day. So tell me, what's in this and what can readers expect?
Well, so the book comes out of my experience from coaching in startups for 20 years. And when I come into a situation, I would be like, where's your leadership team? How often do you meet the leadership team? And they would say, what's a leadership team? Or they'd be complaining about some, employee or executive they have, and they're not doing their job. And I would say, well, did you hire them for those specific jobs? And it turned out, no, their hiring process really wasn't what it needed to be. And so I kind of kept thinking, I wish I had a book to just hand you to be able to avoid preventable mistakes. And so I wrote it myself. From Startup to Grown Up is really the guidebook for founders and really all leaders on their journey of growing into the leader they need to be for their company. It's divided into 3 sections: managing you, managing them, the employees, and managing the business. And all of those domains are the ones in which people have to, learn and grow rapidly to be successful as a leader.
I'm biased, but it's a startup handbook that every leader should read, every CEO founder should read, because it just gives fantastic practical experience, passing on experience really from people you've coached and people you've interviewed over the years. So thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it. I'm actually surprised it's only your first book, given the amount of knowledge out there and how active you are. So when it's out in the States on the
October 26th. It's out in the paperback in the States. It's already out on Kindle, and it's out in the UK, as you know.
Yeah, is that favoritism to the UK and Irish?
Yes, exactly. I have a UK publisher.
Oh,
so
great.
That's their favoritism. Yeah, exactly.
Great. Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, I'm most of the way through this, and it's a fantastic read. So just to wrap up, I always ask a few questions. Do you have a favorite book yourself?
Do I have a favorite book?
Apart
from my book. How about The Long Game by my good friend and colleague Dory Clark, also out recently. September 21st was her launch date. It's her best book ever. Buy it, The Long Game by Dory Clark.
I think it's topping the charts right now as well.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Yeah. And just to wrap up, any favorite quotes you have?
One of my favorite quotes is actually from Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And I think about that a lot because we are what we repeatedly do.
Fantastic. I love that. It's all about just continuously raising the standards, isn't it?
Exactly. And one foot in front of the other, and consistency. And I guess I would add, a quote by Brian Tracy: bad habits are easy to attain and hard to live with. Good habits are hard to attain, but easy to live with. So I always think about that, sort of, what are you picking for yourself? Good habits, which are hard to attain, but easy to live with.
I think that's a fantastic way to wrap up the interview. So thanks so much for your time. Best of luck with the book launch. And to anyone out there who's watching, it's a fantastic read and a must-have in your bookshelf. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.